are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. You look beautiful as always.
No.
All right, so let's just go ahead and kick it off because I know we got a lot to talk about today, right? So obviously, I just want to thank you for joining. It's really important to me to just create a space for Black women to just talk about their journeys, to talk about their businesses and everything that they have going on. And obviously, we've known each other for a while, right? But I don't think we've ever had a chance to really sit down and connect and just talk about businesses and the things that make us happy, the things that we have going on, and just everything in its entirety, right? So, like I said, thank you again for joining. So I know we ran into each other a few years back in New York, right? We were both on a mission at that time. And so I was just like thinking to myself, I wanted to start or I wanted to build a brand based on Black women in business or just Black women in general. So I'm a Black woman myself, and I feel like, I have a story to tell, and I want to talk about it, but I also want to make sure that I'm amplifying and just highlighting other Black women and their businesses and everything that they have going on. So I was like, who can I bring on this show that's a real girl boss, right? Somebody that's been doing it, that's still doing it, and who's going to continue to do it in the future, I'm sure. So I said, who better than Najee? So once again, thank you so much for joining.
Thanks for
and hi everybody that's joining. Thank you guys so much for coming to our live. So you're the owner of your own business, right? REIGN48 Events, and you're also the co-founder of Inspo Event Academy. So I realized that you actually released your business. Was it last year on your birthday?
So technically, yes.
Okay.
Really my junior year of college, and we've gone through 2 rebrands since then. So that was the second rebrand with my birthday last year. The new name, new logo, new everything.
So let's talk about that, right? So what is REIGN48 Events? I mean, what was your mission when you sat down and you wrote that out? What was your mission for it? What does that mean to you? What do you want people to know about that business?
So in college, I realized I love event planning. I had a lot of major events and parties and gatherings in high school. I was a head of certain committees in college. I was like, this is really what I want to do for life. But I wanted to help other small businesses kind of bridge that gap between them and their target audience through creative marketing, which is events. Mm-hmm. If you're a chef, the best way to get people to really buy into your services is coming to taste your food. So let's do, a pop-up or something. If you're a designer, let's do a fashion show. So that was really why I got into the industry. And then as I've been growing, just the reality of small businesses and upcoming brands not having those funds to like really invest in that marketing. And also my love for other events like baby showers and more celebratory events. So it's like, so where do I fall?
Right.
So REIGN, as of last year's rebrand, was just like, hey, anything event related, if you need someone to come just handle the planning process, alleviate you from all that stress, I got you. No matter what the event is, what your goal is, I'm the girl, for you just to make it happen. And so that's where we're at now.
Right. So basically you just want to like merge all types of events, right? So not just one specific thing. You're just kind of in the business of merging any type of event for anybody.
Yeah. So I still have a passion of definitely helping small businesses because I am one. I'm surrounded by them, my friends and my family. And I feel like a lot of business owners lack not the knowledge, but they just don't know how beneficial events can be to getting their brand out there. So my deep down purpose will always be to really help those brands see like, hey, investing in events is really how we get you on the forefront, of conversations and whatnot. But my secondary passion would be more so, of course, towards more celebratory. So I'll make sure of both, just my passion for events as a whole kind of segued me into having a company so I can do it on my own. And the hardest part and why I even became an entrepreneur, I always wanted to be one. But the biggest problem was finding a job. I could not find someone to hire me to do events. I went to many event companies around North Carolina. I was getting doors on my face left and right. Moved to New York, same thing. Moved to Cali, same thing. So it's like at some point in time, you're like, well, I do it on my own.
Yeah.
Like I can do it without being attached to the brand. I want to help this person have this event and curate this concept. I want to be a part of this movement for this individual person or whatever, you know what I mean? So
Right.
it encompasses all of that. In the REIGN portion of it, you guys know I go by Queen Naj. I just love the whole royalty theme and essence,
Yeah.
just like kind of like who I am as a person. So the idea is that every client leaves me feeling like royalty. You had nothing to do from the time you booked me to have a consultation until the time we sat down to deliberate how it went. You know, from setup, cleanup, creation, ideation, all of that, I handle it all. You know, so I think as I'm maturing in my business and in my skill sets, I'm learning more about how to structure that. And even with having mentors, it's like, what is a niche? Do you have to have a niche to be successful? You know, like say for like YouTubers, they always have to have like a description of what they do. I'm lifestyle, beauty. You know, so it's like, do we have to have that in my industry in order to be relevant or to actually gain clients? Can you just be a planner?
Right.
You just do bomb events, period.
Exactly. Yeah, and it's funny that you say that, right? Because I think I spend a lot of time myself trying to figure out, you know, what is my niche? What is it that I'm good at, right? And I'm just like, it's not one thing that I'm good at. I don't want to like just put myself in a box that this is what I do. You know, if this is something that makes you happy, then do it. So what about your second company, the Inspo Event Academy? What is that all about?
So we just launched that, I think a month now. And my business partner, Danae, and I, two Black women in the event industry. And as I was saying before, the hardest part about our industry is there's not many job opportunities that are more full-time and or just teaching you, you know, how to do events. If you get hired most of the time at an event company, you're usually an event assistant, helping day of or cleaning up or whatnot. If you get a higher job as a coordinator, so on and so forth, that's just your role. A lot of small agencies don't like, and this is not true for everyone, but a lot that I've encountered don't want to hire you in order to teach you the ins and outs. It's kind of like we just need you to help with this area. So Danae and I decided, you know, we really want Black women to have or minorities, period, to have a chance to get this education that we all lack. After college, I wanted to go to grad school, but there was no event program. You know, even in undergrad, I wanted to major in event planning. And it was like, you can do meetings and events or you can do PR. So I did PR. You know, so after all the experiences and then having trouble finding a mentor, I mean, the biggest problem, there are other programs like what we're doing, but they're really expensive. And then when you go to see who's speaking and who's teaching these classes, it's older white women. So we're like, okay, so let's mix all these problems to one and solution. We create our own.
We don't have enough representation, and I think that's exactly what it is. So I'm proud of you. Obviously, I appreciate what you're doing. Anytime a Black woman is, you know, starting something for herself, doing something that makes herself happy, I think that's just amazing. So let's get into this girl boss conversation, right? Because like I said, you know, I've known you since high school, and I feel like, you know, ever since I've known you, Najee has always been into something, right? Whether it's, you know, some high school committee, doing an event, you know, your Sweet 16 was huge, you know, and then going on to college and just doing everything that you're doing now. You've always been the epitome of a girl boss. So my question is, where does that hustler mentality come from? Like, how do you always just have your hands in something? Where do you get the motivation from? You know, and also speaking of girl bosses, you come from a family of girl bosses, right? So your mom, she owns an in-home daycare for over 15 years, right?
She's 26 years now. I'm 26 or 27 years.
26 years. That's amazing. And if you're on here, Miss Marie, you know, we're waiting.
Maybe coming soon.
Right. And then your sister, Tasi, right, whom I love so much. She has her own business. She's doing her thing with her chef and her catering company. So where do you get that mentality from? Is it just something that's built in you from your family, or do you just have something in you that's like, you know, this is who I am?
I think both. Of course, my mom is a major contributor to that mentality, and she always told Tasia growing up, like, you know, our symbol is a key, and the key symbolizes that you own it. It's yours. So if you work for someone else, you're building their home, business, whatever for them. That's their key. You're just a piece of that. When it's yours, no one can tell you what to do with your company or how to move about, what to, you know, how you want to do things. It's on you. So I think she showed us, of course, with helping her out growing up, and even to this day, how she's strong in that. I will say it's definitely innate, because everyone doesn't have that like drive to really be an entrepreneur, and even being a freelancer, which is very similar, where you don't work for one person, but you do multiple things. It takes courage to be out here at 25 and be on your own, doing your own thing, making your own experiences, your own money. It's hard. So you have to really have that gut passion and that drive on your own beyond what everyone around you is doing.
Right.
But use the people around you to motivate you to keep going. You know, I have an aunt. She's also an entrepreneur for many years. So it's like I have a lot of great influences around me. But deep down, it's like that fire in me. It's like, I can't, this is not enough. I got to keep going.
Yeah.
You got to do this. You got to do, okay, time to go here. Let's do this. All right, now over here, let's do that. You know
right.
what I mean? So that helps.
Yeah, and it's not easy. It's definitely not. And like you said, you just have to, along with having, you know, that visual representation with women in your family, outside of that, right? So you said you lived in New York and you lived in Cali. You still have to have that mentality in you, because moving to those big cities is not enough. Like, you still have to make that name for yourself. And I think that that's something that you're doing. But in the middle of everything that's going on, especially right now, you know, it's so chaotic. It's so easy to just like get into that bubble and say, you know, I don't want to do this today. I don't want to put myself out there. How do you, as a business owner, stay creative and keep your business engaging, so that way, you know, when this is all over, your customers will still want to, you know, work with you or just come, you know, to whatever it is that you have going on? How do you pull that gravitation in the midst of all of this chaos?
I think for me, and I struggle with that, of course, coming into this quarantine, because our industry was impacted tremendously. Everything from events to like live productions, concerts, and TV shows was completely shut down. So you have to remain passionate and surround yourself with like-minded people and motivated energy, which is why I came back to Charlotte during this time. It's like, I don't want to be stuck in LA around everyone who's like going through it. I'd rather be back home around those who can help me, like even get up in the morning. You know, it's motivating to have a friend like Danae, where we're on call every day working on what we're passionate about, and I'm showing everyone who's watching me, like, even during this time, we're still doing something. Like, you don't have to just sit and wait for the government to say, like, hey, now you can go do what you please, whatever, you're good to go. No, okay, we can't have events. Now what do we do? Virtual? Bet. Now we're virtual. You know what I mean? So just showing like you're consistent and pivoting, because even though it's not your fault, what happens, how you move forward will be on you. If you choose to kind of just like sit back and be like, well, this happened, so I'm not gonna do it anymore, so now I'm a food line worker, whatever. That was your choice. But if I choose to learn how to go digital and maneuver my business to be able to do both, after all of this, it's like, yo, she was still doing stuff even during this time, and now she does virtual. Like, she added a new service to her list of services, you know what I mean? And she was still doing small, intimate things that showed us, like, she still has the ability to do this. You know, like, I think for me, though, because where I am in my career, I'm not at the major level yet. So me getting clientele after this is going to be huge, because I've bounced around so much. But my hometown is where like my base really is. So it's really showing your worth, but knowing your worth as well. And that should be the driving point to me, the passion and knowing your worth. Because once you have those two things and you show consistency in what you do and how you love yourself and love what you're doing, people will buy into your services or into whatever you're selling, you know?
Yeah, I definitely agree. Especially when you say, you know your passion and know your worth, right? Because I think so many times for young business owners, I think when they get started, they expect for their business to just, you know, pop off, right? And it's just supposed to flourish and everything's going to be great. But in reality, that's not always the case. So I think without that passion and without that drive, it'll be so easy for young women to just give up because they don't think that they're good enough or they don't believe in themselves. So my next question is, you know, what kind of advice would you give to a young entrepreneur, or even, you know, your younger self? So the young Najee, the high school Najee, what advice would you give to them about starting a business and, you know, just going through that process before it actually picks up and flourishes?
I always say this to like my mentees and even my mentors, that I'm learning more about my journey and how I could have done things differently. And it's to not think you can do everything by yourself. When I got started, I was the planner, I was the stage manager, I was a janitor, and it was like, sometimes it's okay to outsource and get that help. You can hire a graphic designer, you can hire a legitimate photographer, and you need to, because you're not going to really, I mean, some people can, but you can't really tap into like what your actual services are and what your specialty is if you're worried about being perfect every other avenue of the business. You know, like, I'm a planner. I know that. I love planning. I love coordinating. I love organizing. I am not a graphic designer. or a videographer, photographer. Sometimes not even a janitor. So I don't feel like it. You know what I mean? So
Right.
it's knowing what your skills are and not being too prideful to ask for help.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the biggest thing for me since college, really. It's just like I would pick and choose who, when I would ask for help and who I would ask. And I would shoot myself in the foot because it's like, shoot, I should have called Kiana for that.
Right.
This would have been done purposely. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But see, my thing is, and I think this is something that I'm starting to learn in the midst of building my brand and building my business. How do you know who you can trust and who you can't trust, right? Because at the end of the day, it's still your business, it's still your brand, and you don't want to just put anybody on your name, right? You just don't want to stamp anybody on something that you've grown. So how do you kind of weed out, you know, who you can trust and who you can't, especially when it comes to your business?
Yeah. Especially now in this economy, everyone is something. Everyone's a model. Everyone's something. That's hard. Honestly, I've been blessed to have great friends in my circle that are very, very talented. And we kind of like uplift and help one another and suggest people that we've all encountered or have experience with. But it's not that easy for a lot of people. So I guess like, I don't know. It's just like a gut feeling. Like I always go with my gut. Same people like, oh, how do you always up and move somewhere new? If my gut says, yo, move to Brooklyn. All right, gut, let's figure it out. We're going to Brooklyn. You know, the same with people. It's like you can always tell when someone's like not really kosher. Like they're selling you something that they can't really like back 100%. Mm-hmm. And it's like, I don't see any like, proof of experience. Do you have a portfolio, something? And you'll be able to tell who is and who isn't someone you should invest your time or money into.
Yeah, for sure. Your mom said trial and error, and I think that's right. I think, pretty much in anything in life is going to be trial and error, right? Even in this whole motherhood thing, you don't really know until you do it, figure out what works, and keep it moving. So what do you have going on in your businesses, like when this whole quarantine is over, or even within quarantine? Because I know that you put on the 3-week self-care event a couple weeks ago, which was amazing. I attended all 3 weeks and it gave me life. I literally got something from all 3 self-care Sunday events that you went to, even a chance to connect and network with one of your mentors. So that was amazing. So what type of events can we expect from you moving forward?
Y'all ever have these like ideas and I put them in my idea book and they live there for a long time? You know, so I have a lot of ideas, events I would love to do. I will say, just being transparent, like that virtual space is draining. You know, those of us who plan, I've had a lot of conversations with other planners, we love the interaction of in-person live events, and having to just abruptly switch and change to the virtual way after some time, it gets tired out. Like people don't really have the same experiences watching someone talk all day long or watch someone DJ for an hour. It's like, all right, next, you know, like, so I think for me, I was struggling with that after Self-Care Sunday. It was a great 3 weeks. I got great feedback. Everyone loved it. But I was burnt out because it wasn't as enjoyable for me as normal events are. Mm-hmm. But I do have some ideas of like virtual wine tastings, more Self-Care Sunday events, stuff like that. And then, of course, I still have some clients who have a smaller, intimate events that they were planning on doing already. Since the guidelines have changed, they're doing small, like 10 people max dinners. You know, I can still go and coordinate that for them. So I think now it's to the point of just like figuring out like what can we do next and not lose the interest. You don't want to overwhelm everyone with like, hey, I have this going on, and lose interest. And once stuff gets back to some kind of normalcy, they don't care about what you have going on anymore because like you were so annoying back then, girl. We watch your webinar every 2 days. We know you hadn't even gone on. You know what I mean? So trying to find a balance between being relevant but being realistic at the same time.
Right. Yeah. And that's a major key. He's silly. But yeah, right. He was down there on the mat with me and everything. But yeah, definitely staying relevant, but being realistic about your goals. And like I said before, you know, I see a lot of young women, and I think that's my passion. The more I do what I do, the more I feel like, you know, I want to be representation for the younger women who want to be girl bosses, right? But you have to be real with yourself. You have to be realistic about your goals, be realistic about your situation and where you are before you can just pop off and say, oh, I have this idea and I want everybody to support me. So being a Black woman who's lived in these major cities like New York and LA, how do you think they've shaped you and molded you into the entrepreneur that you are? I think those cities are such, they're representation for where a lot of people want to be as their end goal, but is it realistic for you? Like, is it something that, you know, you say you have to be in those cities to be successful or to make it? Or do you think it's okay to start where you are in your hometown and just flourish like that? What do you think about that?
Since I've had the experience living there, I see both ways. I see pros and cons of both. Mm-hmm. So when I first left, everyone was like, oh, you're not for the city, you know, you're like everyone else up and leaving, moving somewhere far away, like help build the city up, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, y'all forgetting I still need to have some kind of income. I still need to grow. Right. You know what I'm saying? So
being realistic, right?
Exactly. These bigger cities have opportunities for me to grow in what I'm trying to do, make connections, build that experience. And my end goal is always to come back home and be what I've learned out there here. You know, there's some stuff that I've done in those cities that I've never seen happen in Charlotte. And it takes you leaving what you're used to in order to get that experience and grow. Mm-hmm. And then if you choose, come back to where you're from and really implement it in there, or do what you can to encourage someone that's behind you, another, you know, female boss, to do the same thing there. Mm-hmm. Because everyone doesn't have the guts to live in these big places.
Right.
Because they are not nice.
Right.
You know what I mean? So having the courage to just up and move twice in the span of a couple of years, it was a lot, but it taught me so much. And then now it's like, I don't want to come back. I can really take what I've learned in these two markets and really help Charlotte groom itself into being not just like them, identical to them, but similar in regards to being a major entertainment home and having more activation focused events, and being able to bridge those gaps between these major companies and these smaller cities. So they run to Atlanta, Chicago, Philly, DC, New York, LA, because that's what's popular. Austin, Dallas, like, but Charlotte can be just as popping.
Exactly.
You know, but people who are here, who know the city, who have a passion of making it that, who have the resources, and that's another big thing in leaving. If I didn't leave, none of my mentors I would have.
Right.
The friends I have. We know experience, of course, but the people I've met along the journey who've helped me, help groom me to who I am today, I just feel like if I would have done myself a disservice staying in Charlotte.
Right.
But on the big girl side of things, staying in your small town or, you know, smaller city helps you get more established quicker. Mm-hmm. You know, when I left, I had done some events here, you know, with Cameron Archer. We did some like art events and music shows, dance classes. Stuff was going great. And it's like, oh, cool. Then you leave. So you're forgotten about.
Right.
You know, so it's like you have to be mindful of when you're no longer on the forefront, you're not in front of their mind. Mm-hmm. You know, so they're not calling and booking for an event, no matter if you travel or not, because you're not who's here. We don't see you here anymore.
Right.
On top of that, back to big girl talk, as a 25-year-old, not having your own place, or be in a position to start a family, that stuff is big because you want to. It's not because of your friend are doing it, but like as a female at 25, 26, 27, we're ready to start that and work on that journey. But when you're not stable just yet, you're comfortable just jumping into doing that. Mm-hmm. And in these larger cities, it takes a little more time of getting adjusted, getting acclimated, and putting your name out there so you can sustain living. And then it's like, okay, now relationship, baby, house, you know, so all those different things break down, but they're back of mind. Whereas small towns, that's like college, good job, buy a house, get married, have a family. You know, so you have to say what's more important to you. Is it really having a life of like, what's the word? I don't know what the word I'm trying to look for is, but being able to sustain your living in that way and be comfortable, mm-hmm. or shake it up a little bit, go to these bigger places, work a little harder, take a little longer, but still get to that goal eventually.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. No, that makes sense. And I see Sandra said in the comments, you know, get out of your comfort zone, expand your comfort zone. And I think that's very important, especially, you know, if you are in high school or just a young entrepreneur, period, you know, get out of your hometown. Don't go to school where you live, you know, move out, get different experiences. And then, like you said, if you want to come back home and then hone it in your hometown and make your hometown flourish, do that, because Charlotte has a lot of opportunity to grow and to expand in multiple industries. But I don't think a lot of people are doing that. So I agree with you. But like you said, so as a 25-year-old in a committed, happy relationship, right? How do you balance being an entrepreneur and being a girlfriend of a successful young Black man?
So one, love the Black men. We'll always love good on my Black men. But my sister said the other day, and she was like, you have to take what B. Simone said in consideration. She wasn't saying that, well, I don't know what she was saying, I speak for her, but it's not that 9 to 5 people can't work with an entrepreneur, but you want someone who can really help you and motivate you and understand what you're going through and be able to be that good partner. Now, for me and Austin, we both work in very up and down careers. He's an athlete, I'm an event planner. He may be on a team one day, not on the next. I may have a gig tomorrow and nothing else for another month.
Right.
You know, so it's kind of hard when you're thinking like, hey, we want to think about settling down, and do we want to stay together in regards to having a family, blah, blah, blah. But okay, if we did, what's our means of income? You know, that's hard. And you want to, and him being an athlete as well, they have crazy hours. They're dealing with a very stressful, you know, industry and environment. So you want to make sure you're soft enough to be, like I said, that girlfriend, but still harder to be that girl boss. But for us, I think we have a good way of balancing how we support, because we both had that, like, we understand where we are in our career, in our lives, and what we want out of it mentality, and this is first. You're not second, but you understand that this is first, and whatever needs to be done for this is priority always. Yeah. But you know, the love is there. We have our time, so we carve out date nights. We carve out time to talk. We sit down and we'll put phones down and just have like face-to-face conversations or write out affirmations, different things to practice to make sure that we're sewing into one another. But it's easier because, like B was saying, he can understand how I'm feeling on certain weeks where it's like, yo, I have no gigs, I have no clients right now, like what's going on? Or if he gets cut from a team and it's like, dang, and I gotta go back to workouts to try to find someone else to get on another team or whatever. So we have that mutual understanding to help us push.
Yeah, and that makes sense. And I think I kind of see both ends of the spectrum, right? You know, because not every 9 to 5 worker is broke, and not every entrepreneur is successful, right? So I just think, you know, I don't really think it matters. I just think having that mutual understanding with your partner, like, hey, this is what I have going on, and if you support me, then we can see through any trials and tribulations. So,
girl, listen, I told my friend the other day, I said, if I had a boyfriend who did a 9 to 5, it would be like stress off my back because you have time to help me.
Right.
You know? So once you clock out,
right,
over here.
Because the entrepreneur life is non-ending. It never ends. Like,
exactly,
long nights, early mornings, consistently. So Sandra said, finding someone who understands you and your hustle. That's literally what it's about. Like, you just have to find somebody who's on that same page, and that's going to connect with you and going to meet you where you're at. So so I think when it comes to like just being in this industry, right, of entertainment, whether it's event planning, YouTubing, being a host, anywhere in the entertainment industry, I think it's important to stay creative and like just keep those creative juices flowing. So I know I was asking you earlier, in the midst of chaos, how do you deal with keeping your business afloat? But even on those days where you're like, man, like my creative mind is not there, what types of things do you do to just pick back up? Because I know as an entrepreneur, it's on go, but sometimes you just like, you have those moments where you're tapped out. So what do you do to kind of keep your creativity going?
One, I would say a clear mind. So I love the Self-Care Sunday as an idea because I can help other women achieve the same thing. If I find peace with yoga, working out, clean eating, that gives me a blank canvas to now try to create, I'm good. A clean atmosphere, organized room, like those little things make a huge difference. Beyond that, curating your environment or what you're looking at, watching, listening to, so on and so forth. I'm not big into the podcast. I don't like watching YouTube videos. They're too long for me. But I love looking at pictures, you know, or I love the side by side of like before and after, whether it's from or interior design. So I started curating my like Instagram feed to be more event related or event inspiration. So when I'm scrolling, I'm not just seeing my friends in their personal lives, but also other planners, what they're doing, ideas they've created or they've come up with. And it's like, oh, okay, that's dope. How could I do something to that?
Right.
You know, or even having like-minded friends, I said before, having creative friends, you're going to have conversations and bounce ideas off. Because when it's just you and your mind, you'll second guess yourself, which goes to like imposter syndrome, which we all deal with.
Always.
You know, or you'll get harped on one idea and you lose focus on another. But having a network that can hold you accountable, but also be a support and sharing ideas and helping you cultivate ideas is necessary for sure. And I have a great group of girlfriends that we all, between text messages and phone calls, we just bounce back and forth. And you have to have that. You know what I'm saying? Like if you don't have that circle of strong Black women around you, uplifting you in that way, you won't be creative. You won't be motivated. You won't be healthy. You know, so you have to have those friends and those close people who really like can think like you, move like you, in regards to hustle,
right,
creativity, the whole nine, you know?
Right. Yeah, no, that's for sure. And I think for me, it's just keeping a healthy mindset, right? I think it's so easy to get caught up in like looking at other people's journey and saying, dang, I wish I was there, or how did they get there?
Yeah.
Instead of just focusing on your journey, focusing on where you are. I think that's really important. And I see somebody here in the comments says success is a relative term. Everyone views it differently. And that's right. You know, what success may look like to me may become something totally different from what it looks like for you. So with that being said, what is a successful business for Najee, or what is your view on success, whether it be now or in the long term when you do have, you know, the husband, the kids, the house with the white picket fence? What is success for you?
So for me, I definitely tell people, do not look at me as like a success story. I'm figuring out just like you. Don't take my Instagram posts of me living in cities and traveling as success, because I'm far from it in my mind. When you get to a point where you're truly happy and you're able to sustain yourself, your family, your business, you know, it's always going to be hard work, but that sustainability part is what I'm aiming for. You know, being on your own, having a flourishing business, 2, 3, or 4, and they're making money. They're, you know, it's moving. And you're not successful to me if you're kind of just like, I don't know what it is. Like you have the stuff, you have the bragging rights, you own them, but they're not doing anything. You know, like, or you
elaborate. Like, what do you mean?
Like, okay, it was the same thing for me. I had my company, but for a year I wasn't doing anything because I was working on like learning. Gotcha. But for me, it was cool to say, yeah, I own this company. But it's like, sis, so what have you done?
Yeah.
Or what are you doing?
Yeah.
And then I had to check myself like, yo, like, you can't just go around bragging about you have a company or whatever, but you're not really doing anything. So to the outside, it's like, oh, she's so cool. She's so successful. She has a company. It's like, yeah, but she doesn't even in 2 years.
Right.
You know, or she doesn't really do much in regards to that brand, or just, we don't see it, at least. You know what I mean? So, and that sounds bad. Like, you are successful if you launch your own thing and you do your own thing. You are successful. But to me, my level of success is once I'm able to sustain myself, my family, and my businesses can sustain themselves as well. Right. You know, so I'm not like still in the struggling to find a client phase all the time or every month, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, and that's real, because I think, you know, anybody can start a business, right? Anybody can create a logo, put a name on it, and say, hey, this is my business. But what do you have to show for it? And I think moving to those big cities like New York and LA, like, they're going to let you know. Like, if you're not really working and if you're not really putting in the work, they're going to let you know. So I think, you know, look at it from a hometown perspective, you know, oh, it's good, it's great. But as far as like longevity and creating a business that's going to actually stand for something 5 or 10 years from now, you're absolutely right. You know, you have to put in the work. You got to have a resume to show for your business, especially if you want it to be monetary and if you want to bring value into your home. So I agree with that. So I don't know. I mean, I don't really have any other questions. I guess, you know, if you guys in the comments, if you have any questions for Najee, go ahead and let us know. But just any girl boss advice, any girl boss, anything that you want to let us know, whether it be your journey or just advice in general, just let us know.
Yeah, so aside from not trying to do it all alone, I would say just sticking with it. Times that I wanted to quit or I didn't feel like I knew enough, imposter syndrome, or I feel like I wasn't good enough. Sometimes it's like, yo, just push through it.
Yeah.
Just work at it. God gave you this gift for a reason. And whether this company is making $6 or six figures, you're going to be great.
Yeah.
I think so many females get discouraged because, like you said, people are looking around to everyone else doing. Oh, she hit a milli. Oh, she just launched whatever. Oh, she just booked this big person. And it's like, that's not your journey. And that's fine. But if you're too concerned with what everyone else is doing, you'll never reach your point of success you're aiming to get to.
Right. Yeah.
So just remembering to keep your why your focus. And everyone should have their why written down on a planner in your phone or something, so you know, like, yo, this is why I wake up every morning. This is why I do what I do, regardless to what issues I face while doing it. I'm going to be successful in this because this reason right here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do I just want to? Yes, my mom said it's not for the faint.
It's not. It's not, right? And I mean, I'll be first to admit, you know, I've always had big city dreams, right? You know, my dad's side of the family is from New York, so I've always had big city dreams. But as a young girl, I never really had the confidence, or I thought it was impossible because I didn't have enough representation. So now that I'm growing into, you know, a woman and a mom and just being who I am, I feel like it's very important to just do what it is that you have in your heart. I think if God gave you the vision, he gave it to you for a reason. So like you said, write it down and move on it, because everybody's journey is going to be different. Everybody's success is different, and their path is going to be completely different. So
and stuff has changed. Like when I left for New York, it was 2017. Dang, I mean 3 years ago. You know what I mean? 2016. Well, I graduated 2016, so 2017. Yeah. But now the way social media has even evolved in the past 3 years, you don't have to be in these major markets to be seen. You're more seen in a smaller market than you are in these saturated markets.
Thanks.
Like there's influencers, YouTubers, photographers, event planners everywhere. But if everyone moves to these major cities, you become one of a dozen instead of one of a chosen few. And it doesn't have to be your hometown. It could be, you know, another town. But I just want everyone to think beyond just those destinations. And I had a dream of living in New York, where I moved. Cali wasn't really in my plans, kind of just happened, but New York I knew what I was going to do from when I was young. So that was destined. But now that I'm older, it's like, hey, it's okay to really be great at what you're doing in the market you already kind of have mastered.
Right.
You know, you have connections, you have friends, you went to high school here, so you have, like, your Rolodex should be flowing if you know what you're doing early and, you know, already working on and whatnot. You don't have to uproot and leave. Now, devil's advocate, you do learn a little more going to bigger places. Like I was saying before, they chew me up a little bit, especially in New York. You know, they shake it up.
Loud, okay.
They let you know every time.
Yeah.
So, but like my mom said, even like owning a business, being in a major city does not mean you have the heart for it.
Yeah.
You know, you have to be able to take criticism, be able to work hard, things you don't want to do. I was doing gigs and jobs that I would have never imagined in New York, just to make money and to meet people and try to get in certain doors. And once I was in them, I was like, that was it.
Right.
I did all that to be
right.
Here.
And it's expectation. It's like expectation versus reality. Once you get your foot in the door, sometimes it's not even what you think it's going to be. So just stop looking at other people's journey and just really focus in on what you have set in your heart. Because something I've learned is that, you know, you can move to these big cities, but if you don't have the passion and the drive, or even the personality to make people want to hone in with what you have going on in your own city, if you move, I mean, that's not going to change. You know what I'm saying? Like you have to be built for it, in essence. So speaking on, you know, just all of the losses and the traveling and just all of the things that you've done, do you have like a non-success story that you can share? So a time that you did actually think that you would, you know, pop off with something major and maybe it didn't go as planned, and it was a failure. Do you have a story that you can tell?
Girl, yeah, let me see which one. But like my mom said, trial and error. I have a lot of trial and error. So I think just my business and the whole rebrand concept, having rebrand twice, wasn't because I was just motivated to do so and I just wasn't feeling the name anymore. I, in those moments, felt like I wasn't doing what I should have been doing, wasn't doing enough. Let's refocus, retry it, and do it again. You know, so the positive about that is I knew what I wanted and I didn't give up on myself. The negative of it was I was having to restart because I wasn't consistent in what I was doing. I wasn't planning consistently. The biggest issue I was having was not investing properly into the proper channels. I wasn't hiring a real photographer for events. So I don't have good content. I was doing so much bomb stuff from college till now, but don't have quality content that I even want to show because I don't want that to represent the brand now.
Right.
But you miss out on that. Many people now during quarantine, they don't have in live events are showing now, they're showing you old things. You know, so if you don't take the time to really invest properly and learn, you're messing yourself up. I think another big failure was feeding too much into that imposter syndrome, especially when I moved to New York. I was doing little events and was getting like, you know, 10, 15 people, blah, blah, blah. But it was costing me more than I was making, but I couldn't figure out how to charge. So I wasn't trying to charge. It was a mess. Yeah. Like, take the time to learn so that you can do it and do it the right way. Not the first time, but at least the second or third time.
Right.
You know, and I feel like
until you get it right.
Exactly. And I think it's another major thing as my third failure was just knowing your worth. I was doing events in Charlotte when I first started 2016 for people for like $300. My first mentor, when I told her that, she was like, "What? You wasn't at your parents' house." And I'm like, "Yeah, I mean, but I was just learning that." She was like, "Even still, like, if you charge something so low, the client now devalues you. They tell everyone, oh, yeah, she's cheap. So now you get a lot of events, yes, but they're no longer quality events because you don't even have faith in yourself to charge what you're actually worth."
Right.
If you had one event this month for $300, what bills are you paying? That's my gas for 2 weeks. Right. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. In LA. Here, I get a little more with that, but you know, so it's like, be realistic and understand that what you're doing is somewhat a luxury service. Not saying I gotta charge 20 bands per event, but make sense in how you break it down and what you're aiming to do, what that number, a goal number is for you every year, and learn, I should be charging this. And every market is different. I know in Charlotte, I probably can't charge someone what I would charge someone in LA.
For sure, yeah.
You know, so a lot of that is trial and error too, where I was spending 2-3 years doing stuff for scraps, where it's great getting the experience, but now this person no longer values my services, and now they've moved on to someone who's charging them a little more, but able to give them more as well because they had the means to do it.
Yeah.
I can't make and flip if I'm not really making, you know?
For sure. Your mom said, talk about the show boutique, Naj.
Oh, she meant shoe boutique. Yeah, so college, I was trying to open a shoe boutique. Got the business plan together, started doing research, started raised money, like a whole GoFundMe and everything. And then reality sunk in that was like, I needed to know much more. I didn't have the ability to get to people overseas to communicate that what I was trying to get done. I didn't know about making shoes. And so instead of learning, I just said, F it.
Right.
You know, like, and just walked away and was like, okay, I'm gonna focus on doing this business first. And once this business is successful, I go back to that one. And it's like, people start seeing you start and not finishing stuff.
They're gonna remember.
Is like, okay, what happened to this though?
Yeah.
You do it again. Okay, what happened to that one though? You know, so it's like doing that over and over again, whether it's the same business, you're relaunching, or multiple ideas, it kind of tarnishes the way people view you because it seems like you can never finish something. Yeah. And you just genuinely don't know what you're doing and trying to get help and not getting the help you need and spending more than you can afford. So you're trying to be smart and like backpedal. But to the public eye, it's like, I don't really want to invest in that because you seem like you too sometimey.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, and that's not a good look for your brand.
Exactly.
Let me see. But yeah, no, I think that's That's good advice. And kind of like your mom said, you know, I think success overall is just like trial and error, right? I think you have to just start somewhere. So if you have a vision, if you have a plan, just start, you know, pick up with what you have. You don't have to, you know, have everything, but have the vision. I think you should just start and move on it. And
like even you with this, like we talked in New York. When did I see you? 2018, I saw you in New York. And you expressed what you were trying to get into, especially get into production and the whole nine. And look, now not only are you a mom and doing great, but you also started a whole platform that can blend both those things together, you know, and you didn't have to be in New York to do it. And you have friends and people who don't mind chiming in and giving resources and helping out and pushing and giving suggestions because you're just doing it. You know, once they see you doing, it's more like they're more likely to jump in and help. Yeah. And jump in and contribute in a way that really helps. You know.
Yeah, and I think you know, that's something that I had to work on because for me, like I'm a big thinker. I'm a big visual thinker, right? So when I had this idea, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm gonna, you know, DM Gabrielle Union and all these big names. And I'm like, girl, like what have you done? Like humble yourself. Like just sit back and like really take a step back and realize what you want to do. And then, like you said, use the people around you who are also like-minded, who also will understand, you know, why you're doing this. And if it's good, people will want to work with you. So
exactly. Austin said he has a question. What do you want, Austin? What question you got?
Yes. So many are willing to reach out and help others also. Yeah. I mean, I think it's like help climb, pull each other up. I think, you know, especially with everything that's going on in the Black community right now as a whole, I think, you know, it's just like, it's no better time than now than to support other Black women and to support other Black men, just Black people in general. Like we've been through so much for so many years. I just think, you know.
But doing it genuinely. And that's why I keep telling people, even on like Twitter and stuff, is I've been pro by Black for a long time. My friends can tell you. I shout every business out I can. If I'm in a certain city, I'm looking up what's Black on around me. So I love that now it's become popular, but don't make it a trend.
Right.
And don't just support the major ones that everyone's already supporting. You know, like I'm a small business. Yeah, I can't think of a big company in Charlotte, but so and such is a major company. But why not go with the smaller company that can actually cater to your needs one-on-one? Because you're like one of her 3 clients versus one of their 50. You know what I mean? So it's about really genuinely wanting to build this community. And I feel like most other races, they really do a good job of investing into each other. And that's where we kind of lack. We don't take that time to really invest on another consistently. And this can't be a trend. This has to be, what is he saying?
Yeah. No, your boyfriend in the comments cutting up. But yeah, no, I definitely, like, I really hope this isn't a trend, but with the way things are moving now, I really, I can just only pray that it's genuine and pray that, you know, we just move in a better direction as a people going forward. Because at this point, we're all we got. So we need to just uplift each other and just build with each other because that's all we can do.
Period.
But yes, sis, so I am so happy that you joined. Do you have anything else for any of the girl bosses or men bosses even in the comments that you want to leave us off with?
Any bosses? I would just say to stay passionate. Please use me as a resource. I don't know a lot, but I've made some pretty bomb connections. And I love to be able to connect people like, you know, Kiana, when you talking to Nikki and stuff. So just let me know how I can help. I check my DMs and stuff pretty often. So I would love to network with other people and help others kind of maneuver as we're all learning. We can all help each other. So thank you, Kiana, for having me. This is the first time anyone has ever asked me to come talk about like my experiences in entrepreneurship. Really? Yes. So I appreciate it. This is fun. I'm on the
right, and that's why I said, you know, that's why I started this platform. Like I said in the beginning, like it's one thing to just, you know, build a platform about yourself and to talk about yourself, but it really brings me joy to bring other people on my show and talk about what they have going on and why it's important to them. You know, not always do Black women even get asked about their journey or how they got to where they are or what their job means to them. So I'm happy about it.
Thank you, Derek. So yeah, so thank
you. But yeah, so
any other girl bosses you see, any of my friends you want to talk to, let me know. I would love to connect. because there's so many who have great stories and great advice in the field. So
for sure. And so at your next event, once COVID-19 is over, you know who to hit up for your hosting and media needs.
Yes, ma'am.
Right. All right, boo. Thank you so much for joining. Have a good day.
Bye.
All right, you guys. Thank you so much for joining. That was an amazing conversation with Najee. Make sure y'all follow her at Najee Jalise, and we'll be back. Bye.